Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Elden Ring walkthrough. Today we're going to be finishing up Altus Plateau, but before we do that, I was kind of feeling something new. I'm going to throw lightning slash on my sword, give it the lightning affinity, because at this point my dexterity is getting pretty high, and this is actually just going to be more damage overall. So, good stuff. Let's go to Windmill Village. At the end of the last episode, we gave Millicent the Valkyrie's prosthesis, which means she is good to go as far as combat is concerned. So we can actually summon her up here if we want. So from the Grace, run to the left here, and we're going to follow these cliffs. Get the Celebrant's Skull Hammer. Climb up here, off to the left, we're gonna have Golden Rune 5, and then all the way across the way in this other hut, got a Rune Arc, and then climb all the way up to the highest building, or the highest point on the hill, I guess, the last building on the left up here. This one. Circle around the outside, and we can drop down here for some exalted flesh. If we hop over here, on the back, lightning grease. You are not good at hiding. Next building below here. Some Stormhawk feathers, and then this clearing over here. Holy Proof dried liver, and then you can make your way to the top. Crackle of the lightning is so satisfying. Alright, so if you've given Millicent the Valkyrie's prosthesis, her Summon Shine should be right there. Basically, right up here at the edge of the pink flowers by this last group of enemies. I'm not going to summon her, but she is there if you want it, and she will appear for dialogue after this fight, whether you summon her or not. So, anyway, up here you can see up ahead, we can summon Spirit Ashes now, and this is a Godskin Apostle. So, before I start this, you want to kind of try to keep a bit of distance from this guy so you're in position to react to and dodge any of his moves, which are already forgot I don't have Unsheath on. That was kind of smooth, even though I got hit in the face. He's got a mix of like stabbing and slashing moves with like a dual-sided weapon up close. He's got black flame incantations at range. But he's got this really nasty, like, spinning move you can do when he's up close, so just don't get, like, too comfortable being in his face, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, at 60% health, the boss is going to float up in the air and then slam down an explosion, which marks phase 2. During phase 2, it can stretch its upper body and utilize its melee combos with a much, much larger range. The trade-off is that for some of these attacks, his legs are kind of locked in place while his upper body stretches towards you. So if you could roll forward through any of those stretching attacks and get close to the lower half of his body, you can usually get some free hits on the legs. And then if you're really struggling with this guy, just like the Godskin Noble counterpart, it's very, very susceptible to sleep. So try some sleep pots, same situation as before, as long as it stays in the cloud for even like a second, it should knock out in just one sleep pot. Unlike that last encounter, though, you actually get the opportunity to summon here, which is cool. That helps. And if you want some extra sleep buildup, you can try out the Dolores Sleeping Arrow. It's called Puppet Ashes that we got from Celivis's questline. Even unupgraded, she'll still help a lot with sleeping the boss. She won't really do any damage, and she's very squishy if she does get hit. But for building up sleep, she's good. So let's get to it. Also, probably his most dangerous attack, like damage-wise, but not really... Oh, I didn't see that coming-wise, is giant black flame tornado. There's phase 2. There's the stretchiness just going on his legs. Oh, I won't finish him yet. I want to show you the tornado, just in case. Kind of just killed him too fast. Lots of black flame nonsense going on here. Really nasty spinning attack there. He's not spinning, but his weapon is. Can you do the thing so we can all move on with our lives? There we go. So, huge area, slams the staff down. That's what that looks like. That was embarrassing. So, that's that. And then the Grace will spawn in. Get the Godskin Peeler and the Scouring Black Flame incantation, and then if we rest up, Millicent should appear nearby. Speak to her. Exhaust her dialogue. Alright, cool. Now for the field bosses. So, we did already take out Wormface. So that kind of counts as one, I feel like, 'cause it's at a minor Erdtree. I guess the Black Knife Assassin would technically count because he was standing in a field, maybe. I don't know. Either way, we still have plenty of work to do. So, I'm also going to hit the last couple dungeons here, right outside Lanedell after we do the field bosses, because they're kind of a pain, so getting some more power should be helpful. Anyway, warp to Altus Highway Junction. We also killed the Falling Star Beast too, I forgot about that. Which, since I'm not doing in this video, I'll at least point out it's in this crater right here. So you would also warp to Altus Highway Junction for that. It's one of the last episodes if you want to check that out. But once you're here, pass the time to nightfall if it's not already. First up, of course, is going to be our friendly neighborhood Knights Cavalry. It was right here on this main road. For obvious reasons, I'd recommend taking out these guys first. And then we can get to work. Not winning the trades right now. There we go. I was getting a lot of collateral damage there. He is at 1 HP. So kill him. Get the Ash of War shared order in a second. There we go. And then next you can warp up to Outer Wall Phantom Tree. Again, if you haven't killed the Falling Star Beast yet, just go do that right now. And then for this boss, it's going to be 2 Tree Sentinels, and you have to kill both of them to get credit for the spawn, or for the kill. If you kill one and then die, or you go back to rest of the grace in between killing them, both are going to respawn. Now they both have the same golden halberd in their main hand, however one has a shield in the offhand, that one right there, while the other one has a torch. The one with the shield has a completely identical moveset to the Tree Sentinel back in Limgrave at the beginning of the game, while the torch one is going to swing the torch at you if you're on its left side. Personally, with the size of the hitbox and massive damage the shield does, I think the shield one's more difficult personally, so I prefer to start with that one. But start with whichever one you find more difficult, because then you'll have, you know, if you have less heals after that, then at least you only have the easy one left, right? Now to get them to separate, just sneak up behind the one that you would like to leave. So I want to do the shield first, which means I want this guy to leave. So I just sneak up behind him. And he's going to start marching down to the bottom of this first flight of stairs and just stay put at the bottom once he gets there. You don't have to wait for it to get all the way down there. Just wait as long as you want until you feel safe to attack the other Tree Sentinel, basically. Now, like I said, you have to kill them both to get credit for the fight. So just try to be conservative with healing. If you kill this guy and you only have like one flask left to take on the other Sentinel or something, the Grace is right behind us, so there's really no harm in retrying. Other one is gone, so let's get to it. That's one down. You can use Spirit Ashes for this fight as well, as you can see. And down goes the other one. So you get 20,000 runes for that, the Erdtree Great Shield, and Heroes Rune 1. Now, while we're here, just walk back over, or warp wherever you're at, to the Outer Wall Phantom Tree here. And we're going to follow the other direction to the northeast, and we'll deal with this gargoyle. Once you get to the first flat section before the next set of stairs, so not where I'm standing right now, but the next one up there, you should be able to summon, and then keep walking a little bit further, you'll see the gargoyle flying ahead of you. They don't have any crazy weaknesses. Magic works the best of any element if you had to pick one, and since they're made of stone, strike damage is the best, but that's about it. All I can really say is use the space to your advantage and exploit the slope you're fighting on to make it swing over your head whenever possible. It can be staggered and crit, so I usually like to just two-hand my weapon and go in with a charged heavy or with charged heavies and jumping attacks to accomplish that. So let's get to work. Now it's got this twin blade, and at some point during the fight, it's going to drop that. Well, not drop it. It's going to put it away. Ow. Switch to an axe. Use your own advice, dude. Use the ramp. So, I don't like locking on, as you've noticed in the walkthrough, but for enemies like this, where they like to jump behind you, sometimes you just kind of have to lock on, otherwise you'll keep losing them. But I'm not used to having lock on, so even when he's in front of me, it just feels kind of weird. Here comes the axe, big slam with the shockwave after it. He's kind of like a really mobile, like, troll almost. That's what his moveset kind of reminds me of. Like, he's faster and he can move around a lot more. Like, if the trolls were just not super clumsy, you get the gargoyle. back with a twin blade, or so he thought. Alright, so don't really love that fight, but now for a fight that I do kind of like, which is still like probably not going to go very great, especially now that I kind of spec'd in the lightning damage. That's not good. That's alright. I made my bed. I will sleep in it. Gonna level up again. So we're gonna climb on top of this plateau and fight Ancient Dragon Lansseax, a dragon that kind of flew in on us when we first got to Altus over by Abandoned Coffin over here. Now, this, well, I'll talk about it when we get up here. For now, wrap around the plateau, and we're gonna hit the Spirit Spring on the other side. And of course, the dragon's gonna be in that opening that I told you to avoid in the last episode. Now, just like the Exyx fight back in Caelid, I think Latenna is a fantastic summon here because she has insane range, constantly deals a bit of damage while staying far enough away to not get hit generally by the boss. The only caveat is that she'll die basically instantly if she does get hit, which this dragon hits pretty hard, so that kind of applies to us too, to be honest. So if you use Latenna, you'll have to play somewhat aggressively to keep the boss's attention off her, as usual, unless you want to spend a talisman slot on Shabriru's Woe to ensure that you keep the attention of the boss. But if you have any talisman slot that you can spare, I definitely recommend the Bolt Drake Talisman +1. Won't be getting any crits in this fight, so I can drop this. And what this of course does is it greatly boosts your lightning damage negation. Now I naturally have 10 coming from my gear. That's gonna bump me up to 26. And then if you really want also, you can stack that with a lightning proof dried liver. Now we can't quite craft these, I don't believe. No, we don't have the recipe for that. So we only have 3 if you've gotten all the ones I've picked up in the walkthrough. So what I would do is fight the dragon without this a few times at least and figure out what attacks you're struggling with. And then when you're confident that you could beat it if you just weren't getting constantly one-shot, then throw this on. And that should effectively like double or triple between the two of those, the dried liver and the talisman. That should like double or triple the amount of lightning damage negation you have. So that's going to come in really handy because this dragon deals a ton of lightning damage. Now as for the fight, it always starts out with a scripted landing in the same spot, followed by a series of red lightning strikes all around it. This is going to give you a nice opportunity to summon and buff if you need to, but just be quick if you do that, and then hop on Torrent to get in close as soon as you can, because, you know, being far away from dragons tends to bait out their most obnoxious attacks. Aside from standard dragon stuff, Lansseax has a special ability, Lansseax's Glaive, which comes in the form of a slam or a sweep, both of which have the same wind-up animation. It's basically going to rear up on its hind legs and just hold a giant weapon literally made of lightning in its hand. But in both cases, you ideally want to dodge forward because whether it sweeps or slams, there's going to be a big lightning wave that follows up, and you can also usually land a free hit on the dragon's head if you're in close after that. And that brings me to my next point, which is pretty common knowledge by now, I think, but just in case, always remember that you deal 50% more damage to dragons when you hit them in the head. But for these ancient stone dragons, like the one we're about to fight, you actually deal 100% more damage to the head. And as far as dragon fights go, despite the fact that this dragon's still pretty big and does have a relatively small head compared to the ones we've been fighting, I still feel like it's one of the easier dragon fights to constantly hit the head on, which should make for a relatively short fight. Now, onto strats. This is really going to come down to personal preference. This is not like the other dragons we've been fighting. You can still do the kind of hit and run strat we've been doing on torrents, but you got to be a lot faster. This dragon can do, it's got hands. It's not just stuck with wings. It has arms and hands. It's got four legs plus the wings, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So you can't just hang out in front of it freely like you could with the other dragons and just wait for these big sluggish like wing slams and stomps and stuff. This dragon is quick, and if you stay in any one position basically on any side of it for too long, you're gonna get hit with something really hard. So you have to kind of run around like a madman if you want to do the torrent strat. Now I'll show you also on... I'm probably gonna die here trying to explain this stuff, but that's fine. We can run it back if we need to. So I'll show you if I'm on torrent and see where the lightning strikes are. Here's Lansseax's glaive. You want to hop off torrent, roll forward through that, and then hopefully run in here and get a shot on its head. Now, with its arms, every time it slashes, it's got a follow-up lightning like explosion. So you basically have to roll twice every time you're rolling away from the melee stuff in front of it. It's got this big slam here. It's kind of a nightmare. And if it hits you on torrent with basically anything, you're probably going to get knocked off. Now, high risk, high reward strat is to not be on torrent and just hang out right in front of it on foot like I was just now, because you can hit it in the head for really nice damage. But this is like all the hardest stuff to dodge is right in front of it, right? And you got the camera to worry about, and every time it attacks, it kind of takes a step forward, makes the camera even worse. But then if you're underneath it right here, you don't do a whole lot of damage to the legs and stuff, and the dragon will probably try to breathe fire directly under it at some point, which is also not cool. It's got this like wing beating attack where it won't do any damage when it beats its wings, but it will stagger you, and then after like the fourth beat of its wings, it'll knock you down if you don't roll through it. So it's got lots of annoying stuff it can do when you're underneath it. If you're behind it, you know, tail slam. If it breathes fire straight down, run to the tail. Go for some damage here. It's actually just like gonna die soon, so this is going pretty well, I suppose. But yeah, you gotta kind of decide what works best for you here. The torrent strat, like I said, it works, but you gotta be a lot quicker and a lot more heads up with dodging its attacks if you're running torrent compared to regular dragons. But you can also get some nice jumps from torrent to hit it in the head, which is cool. Far enough away here, you'll be able to see the lightning wave that comes out. Pretty large. But yeah, there's not too much more to say. Pick a strat, whatever works best for you. Figure out the attacks that you are better at dodging, and just be aware that if you are on torrent, you kind of want to stay not in front of it, because it's going to knock you off pretty easily. Especially Lansseax's glaive. It goes up for the special attack. Hopefully I can demonstrate that here. Come on, do your thing. Maybe not. I don't know. If it doesn't do it again, basically just hop off of torrent and roll towards it and dodge it as if you were... Here we go. As if you were on foot normally. Because it's pretty... It might just be impossible to jump over. At the very least, it's very difficult to do. Getting knocked off torrent again. Torrent's probably dead also. RIP. Oh, come on, dude. You're dead. Alright, down she goes. That's Ancient Dragon Lansseax. Get Lansseax's glaive. And then now it's pretty safe compared to when the dragon was alive. So we can go over here to this little ledge. Where you at, buddy? Is it this ledge? It's this ledge, my bad. Right here on kind of... It's a little hard to see because this looks like the edge of the plateau, but this is the edge just before the path. It's kind of on this northernmost point. It's the painter for the champion song painting that we got back in Shaded Castle the other day. And then over here, kind of in the woods to the southwest, should be a big stone block thing, stone platform. Get a stone sword key. Alright, once you grab that, you can warp to the Hermit Merchant Shack at night, or just set it to night when you get here. And alright, he's gone. Cool. Bell-bearing hunter, of course. This guy, low-key, I think, harder than the, like, real one back at Shaded Castle, which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. Damn, dude, what's your problem? Bruh. Bruh. I don't know how the, like, health and damage works out. I just feel like this one is stronger. I'm making it look harder right now because I'm just playing horribly at the moment. It's not actually doing anything different. I just got worse overnight. Why did I do that? Stick to plan. You kill me now, I will cry. It's gonna get ugly. So kill him for the... forgot what it's called. Medicine some? Yes, Medicine Peddler's Bell Bearing. Got it just before it popped up. So... that one is going to allow you to buy the boluses that counter poison, bleed, frost, and sleep. So, honestly, quite useful. Now, set the time at night again if you need to, and craft up some holy water pots. This guy is a bit of a tank, even with the holy water pots, so craft as many as you can, honestly. And on the way up, where these skulls are, these are snails, as you can see. We want to kind of thin the herd out a bit, because honestly, these ones all the way up here are not actually really necessary, but any that are kind of on the path to this corner up ahead, you want to clear out, because otherwise they'll get in the way during the boss fight. It's super annoying. Do I have any other pots that I can discard? Gonna... 12 holy water pots is probably fine. Might not kill it all the way, but it'll get us close. Yeah, so... where are you? Oh, it's a little further up still. Yeah, so all these skulls are snails, and Deathbird's gonna spawn in. Gonna pull it over this way so we don't have to deal with all the snails. And we'll just hit it with the same strat as usual. Nice throw, dude. Come on, camera. Work with me. Alright, cool. That went really well, actually. And once it dies, you can make your way over to this corner. Get the Twin Bird Kite Shield. Yeah, if you run up here accidentally and just see this purple item here and just make a run for it, assuming it's surrounded by rocks and no enemies, and then all of a sudden all the rocks that actually happen to be skulls upon closer inspection turn into snails that are somersaulting at you with lethal intention, and Deathbird spawns in too. That's just, it's a recipe for disaster. But get a crystal tear from that, and then you can run over to the southwesternmost cliff. Golden Rune 10, and then run back to the Grace and rest up if you need to. Otherwise, we got another fight at the minor Erdtree over here nearby. I'm gonna kind of backtrack a bit towards the Grace and then hop onto this lower path here. Just play it safe instead of jumping off the cliff. Follow the fork in the road to the right to get down to these trees. And this isn't like an Erdtree avatar or anything, so I mean, I guess I'm sitting full heals anyway, but much more low-key fight than usual either way. So, there's an Omen in the middle, surrounded by commoners. Just should be able to pretty much cut all these down before the Omen even really stands up, honestly. Just take them all out so you can 1v1 the Omen, and then it's just... I don't want to say a normal Omen, because it can do that Deathblight Cloud, but aside from that, it's pretty much a normal Omen. You can backstab it and everything. Sweet. With that, get the Twiggy Crack tier, Crimson Crystal tier, and then we can warp to Auriza Hero's Grave. Now, you can do Auriza Hero's Grave first, which is significantly harder than the side tomb, just because we're here already, or you can go back up the elevator and do the side tomb first, which will get us some Grave and Ghost Glovewort 6s. So, I mean, we have enough of the Ghost Gloveworts saved up by this point, if you haven't spent them, I guess, that you can max out any, like, unique ashes that take Ghost Gloveworts. But if you're super fond of a normal spirit summon that takes Grave Gloveworts, then we can get some 6s over here, and you'll be able to reinforce that a bit. So, I guess just for the niche case where you're super reliant on some normal summons that take Grave Gloveworts to reinforce, then you can definitely run over here and get the materials for that before we tackle the Hero's Grave. You can technically get them in the Hero's Grave too, the Grave Glovewort 6s, but you'll be stuck in the middle of it and you can't warp out, so it's not as useful to you. Not as convenient, I guess. Avoid the big Rune Bear. Crack open the door and get the Grace. Alright, so before we start, just a heads up, there are quite a few places in this dungeon where you get teleported to another part of it, and there are lots of rooms that are like meant to look identical to confuse you. So try to follow along closely if you don't want to get lost. Just like watch me clear like one room at a time, I guess, and then like pause the video or whatever. So we got normal living jars in here that have, let me throw on a light actually. Alright, I'll go this way if you insist. Got the dark jars with the light lids. These are going to explode when you kill them. And then just the normal ones that also kind of explode, but just like a gory mess. Bro, if you kill me, in front of everyone. I am not on my A game today, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so once you clear out that room, grab the Grave Glovewort that was over there, and then hop through this window. There's gonna be 3 fanged imps in this room, one of which is right around the corner. Guarding a Grave Gloveworts. Number 6, as promised. We got a couple hanging out over here as well. Another Grave Glovewort by the exit. Go down this little narrow hallway here. Through the water room, into the next room. Feel free to kill the guys up top if you have a ranged option. Well, I do, but I'm stingy with arrows, so I'm not going to use it. So, ahead, we got one hiding around the corner. Another one up top throwing pots down, and then there's going to be another one off to the left here by the chest. Cool. So, once he's dead, open the chest. It's going to activate a transporter trap, number 1 of many. We take out the large jars in here. Don't do the spin. This guy. Cool. And we get cracked pots, Perfumer's Cookbook 3, and another cracked pot. And then you can take the chest to get back to where we just were. There's this little alcove, can't speak today, on the side of the room. It's an illusory wall, hit that. And then down here, it's going to be a Grave Glovewort. You can still see like the stem here, even after we pick it. So take note of that, because on top of the teleporters, like I said, this dungeon also has duplicate rooms to confuse you. You're watching a walkthrough, so it's going to be a lot harder to get lost. But this is a room we'll see again, and you can tell them apart by the fact that this one has that Glovewort right by the entrance. So open this chest. It's going to put us up on the walkway that we were just under, except it's not actually the same walkway. It's a copy of the room we were just in. Very trippy. Grab the Golden Rune 7. We're going to kill these imps. And then drop down. I guess we could have dropped down in there too, but we're going to kind of pretend like we're backtracking to the start of the dungeon, so we're going to retrace our steps. There's going to be another imp down here protecting a Ghost Glovewort. Deja vu. Keep going up the stairs. This was definitely not here before. Take out the jar, get a ritual pot. Totally remembered him being there, for sure. Alright, and then go back to the room where we dropped down from the walkway. And we'll go down that side path that used to be hidden by an illusory wall, in the other version anyway. As you can see, like I said, no Glovewort in this one. Open this chest, and it'll take us to yet another version of the walkway. But not the same one. Kill the imps up here. And then we'll go up this ladder here. And open the chest. And in this place, we're just going to keep going up the stairs until we get to a room with loot in the middle. Jar hiding in the corner. Take him out. Get another ritual pot. Smithing stone 5 for some insane reason. I think they just let the intern decide what loot to put on that corpse, because how could that possibly be useful to anyone at this point? Go back down the stairs. We're going to jump out the window to the left. Continue heading down the stairs after you get down. Through the water room. And open the chest in the back of the room. And it's going to take us to kind of the same place that we went last time we opened the chest that was in the back of a room that looked like this, but of course not quite the same one. So it has 2 small exploding jars in it, but it does have 2 more cracked pots for us, just like the other one. Ghost Glove Ward 6, other cracked pot as promised, and then climb the ladder. Grab the Grave Glove Warts and pull the lever for the boss. I can hop off this platform and go up the stairs and open the chest. Top here. And this will take us back to the actual beginning of the dungeon. The real one, the original one. So up ahead, the boss door is going to be on our right. And the Grace at the beginning of the dungeon will be back on our left. So you can rest up and replenish your flasks if you need it. Otherwise, go straight into the boss fight. There's some living jar adds in this fight, but if you ignore them and just kill the main boss, they'll explode after he dies, which is fun and satisfying. Totally unnecessary, but definitely fun and satisfying. Look at him go. Yay! Get the soul jars of fortune ashes. Just diabolical pun. Yeah, so with that, we can head back over to Auriza's Hero's Grave. Or Auriza Hero's Graves. Heroes, oh my god. One of these words is plural. No, they're not. It's possessive. Auriza Hero's Grave. We did it. Nice. Alright, open the fog door up ahead with a stone sword key. Be a couple basilisks in here. And get the golden epitaph. Now, I was going to say this, I guess, before we got down here, but the golden epitaph in that room is basically just free loot. But anyway, before we start this dungeon, fair warning, the boss at the end is a duo Crucible Knight fight. Not like the last one where it was an enemy plus a Crucible Knight. I mean 2 Crucible Knights at the same time. It's not like the snail either. It's not a Crucible Knight that gets summoned and will just go away when you deal with something else that's weaker. 2 real Crucible Knights. So, as you might imagine, it's not very fun. I'm just giving you this warning because in case you forgot, can't fast travel out of dungeons until you complete them. You can run all the way back to the beginning and up the elevator right behind us to get back outside if you get stuck on the boss and want to come back to do it later. And luckily, if you follow along with what I do, the chariots that are in this dungeon will all be gone and won't come back even if you rest to the grace and reset the area. So it's not like a nightmare run back if you want to put it off either. Basically, you won't truly get stuck at the end of this dungeon trapped until you beat the boss. It's just not super convenient to get all the way down there at the very end and then find out that you're not ready for the boss yet. I'm just saying, if you don't feel confident fighting 2 Crucible Knights at the same time, to save yourself some time and some headache, maybe just watch me run through this dungeon and see if there are any items you really want, and if not, it might just be more convenient to save this whole dungeon for later when you do feel like taking on 2 Crucible Knights at the same time, which will probably be never, but you know what I mean. So, in the room up ahead, as soon as you get out in the open, keep sprinting down the ramp and there will be an alcove on the left. Some skeletons will spawn on the one on the right. As soon as the chariot passes, run down here, and we're going to pause directly between these 2 pillars, and I mean directly between them. Not an inch forward, not an inch backwards, because when these chariots turn around, they are going to... the spike on the end of the wheel comes around. It's very close to hurting us, so when it's safe, grab this item, fan daggers, strap down. There's going to be some basilisks in this area, so walk around kind of slowly, go off to the right like I just did first, and then I think the rest of them, I guess, just spawn over here at the same time, probably. Yeah. Just be aware of that. Skeleton, I think, can follow you down here. I feel like he does that for me sometimes, so also just be aware of that. But usually they get run over by the chariot, so it's not really an issue. Up here we got a couple more basilisks to deal with. Ghost Glovewort 5. One more in the next room. And a Grave Glovewort 5. Now walk slowly up here, try not to get your head taken off by the chariot. You're good as long as it's below this line. Now you might... I lied, I guess you're not good. So, you might have noticed that the first chariot we saw spawned in like a glowing circle on the ground. There are a few mechanics at play here. First thing to know is that the chariots will be destroyed if they run into another chariot. Second, you might remember a dungeon we cleared last time where you had to lure shadow enemies into a spotlight to make them vulnerable. In this dungeon, there's a spotlight, but instead of like cleansing shadow imps, it's essentially projecting a summoning circle that spawns in chariots. And lastly, there are some dungeons with those pillars that spew fire, and bumping into them will make them move up or down. And you should also remember that trick with Margit's Shackle that makes an invisible shockwave that can travel through walls and interact with those pillars. So, I've over-explained this so much already, and you can probably see where we're going with this, but using the shackle, it's going to move a super tall fire-breathing pillar that has a spotlight on it. Moving that will move the spotlight, thus moving the spawn point of the chariots, which will spawn new chariots that'll basically just lead to the extinction of all chariot kind in this dungeon, which makes it so much easier. Until the very end with the Crucible Knights, at least. And there we go. They're all dead. Get the Ash of War Holy Ground, Tree Sentinel set. We're living large. Stone Sword Key there. Maybe a skeleton in the corner. Ghost Glovewort 6. I missed. There we go. Down the ramp in the middle of the light, we got a Grave Glovewort 6. Skeleton off to the left here. Next alcove to the right, we got an archer to deal with. And at the very bottom, we got a Golden Rune 7. Now the door up ahead leads, it's pretty much just a straight shot to the boss fight, but there's a pretty big side area we can get to by dropping down to these wooden beams on the left here. So stand just like barely to the right of this corpse, like basically on its right shoulder, and drop straight down. And again, get some holy grease, Line up the next one. Run to the end. And down one more time. We got a few basilisks to deal with. Should be one more back here in the corner. I grab the thing. I grab the thing. Alright. Get the Vulgar Militia Ashes, one more Basilisk, and the Grave Glovewort 5. Then you can climb up this ladder here. Actually, don't do that. You can if you want to. If you climb it, there's a Grave Violet at the top. There's just like random purple flowers that are all over these dungeons and the whole game. And at the top, you can drop down to where we first dropped onto the wooden beams up here, like right before the boss door. And then you can just drop down again all these wooden beams if you want to get back to this point, or you can just backtrack on foot like I just did and drop down to these stone beams. Run to the end, take out the skeleton. Alright, I think that's gonna finish him. And then climb up the ladder. Back out to the ramp. Over here, there's going to be another skeleton. And then climb up the ramp. Wait for the fire. And run back behind the pillar to grab a Grave Glovewort 6. So normally this pillar would be in a different position and would be shining a spotlight right at the top of this ramp, which would have spawned a chariot. If you hit the pillar now, it'll reset to its original position, and you'll see the spotlight right here. Luckily, it doesn't spawn the chariot retroactively, so it doesn't matter if you accidentally hit the pillar like this. Likewise, if you hit it twice and put it back to where it just was, you won't start spawning more chariots up top when the spotlight moves back there again. Basically, by using the shackle when we did, the chariots in this dungeon just permanently become a non-issue. It's really great. So run all the way back down the ramp to the very bottom. Clear out the skeletons, and then go all the way down the stairs. Sneak up on the Omen. Just kidding, that didn't work. I'm gonna backstab you, dude. You owe me a backstab. Your debt is paid. Get the Crucible Feather Talisman, and then go halfway up the stairs, or all the way up the stairs, halfway down the hallway, over here, up some more stairs, and there should be an elevator for us. Once again, this is the same pillar from before. It's literally just one giant tall one in this dungeon, so you can safely hit it to move the fire out of the way. Go down the hallway. Great Dragonfly Heads, Grave Glovewort 6, hop down, and we are back at the end of the dungeon. So, boss time. There are a few skeletons between this door and the boss. I can't even fathom why someone felt like this was a place where people might want to lose a couple points of health or mana right before they challenge the boss, but they did. They put the skeletons here. So, I guess, well, we'll take out the skeletons and then I'll explain it. Can't believe you. I need a crit now. I have to get behind him. I don't know if I can. Alright, fine. I'll settle for 95% health. Not like this. There we go. Right, so, as usual, Crucible Knights don't have any glaring weaknesses, but I know this fight can be super frustrating, so I'm just going to throw every general Crucible Knight tip I can, just in case it helps. So, first of all, for this specific fight though, definitely take out the one with the spear first, aka not the one that is named. There's a normal one with a sword and shield named Crucible Knight Ordovis. That one, has significantly less range. The spear one has more, which means it can get itself close to you a lot faster in my experience, which is something you'll want to exploit to keep them separated. But it also means it doesn't have to be nearly as close to be able to hit you. So if you're targeting Ordovis, the one with the sword and shield, Spear Guy can hit you from far away and catch up a lot faster if he feels like fighting close range. On the topic of keeping them separated, also remember to play around the pillars in the room. There are a lot of them, and anything you can do to keep distance between yourself and one of the knights is going to help. The biggest thing to keep in mind is to only focus on one of them. It doesn't matter which one. Well, I take that back. I just told you which one to focus on, but if you really don't want to focus on that one, just focus on your favorite one. But if you have like a ton of AoE damage, you're hitting both of them, just be careful of that. Try not to hit both at the same time, because like any other Crucible Knight, at around half health, they unlock their second phase moves, which involve their winged flying attacks, as well as the tail whip combo, both of which have a lot of range, and it's going to be impossible to keep a handle on both of them in phase 2 if they're flying around and can just like literally fly across the room to close the distance to you whenever they want. The only exception, I guess, would be if you have an AoE that's somehow consistently staggering them at the same time, but if that's your situation, then this fight should be a cakewalk anyway, but I don't know what ability can do that to 2 Crucible Knights. Lastly, it's a duo fight, so any summons are going to make your life so much easier. If you've been following along with the guide, we've got some super tanky options like Lutel the Headless, or the Great Shield Soldier Ashes. You could try your luck with the Skeletal Militiaman Ashes, which can be kind of hit or miss depending on your luck with the bosses executing them while they're trying to resurrect themselves, but I think they tend to work pretty well on Crucible Knights. So as far as general Crucible Knight stuff, parrying always works well. If you're planning on parrying a lot, definitely recommend throwing on this Assassin's... Wow, I didn't even have it on, so even if I crit that skeleton earlier, I wouldn't have gotten healed. Tragic. But yeah, that'll give you some free heals whenever you land a crit, since Crucible Knights are really good at punishing flask use. That's going to be nice. On that note, always remember to be far away to avoid the running lunge attack before you try to heal, otherwise they're going to punish you. And again, in that same vein of patience and not being greedy, a general rule of thumb I try to stick to for Crucible Knights in general is only trying to land one hit at a time. No long combos. For most weapons, they're really tough to stagger. They're immune to bleed and very resistant to every other status effect, so the usual benefits to hitting multiple times in rapid succession don't really apply here. Slightly weaker to fire and lightning damage than other elements, but I still wouldn't describe them as weaknesses. And yeah, alright, let's get in here and do this. The spear one doesn't have a shield, which is really nice though. That definitely helps with trying to take him out quicker. Since he doesn't have a shield, we can spam these jumping attacks, which means staggers. Beautiful. There's Ordovis' special move. This guy's gone into phase 2. He has a slightly different moveset for phase 2 compared to the ones we normally see. So now it's 1v1. I kinda want to parry you, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's better. About to say phase 2. There you go. That was weird, you did the regular stomp instead of the phase 2 one. Can't parry that. Maybe you can, but I definitely didn't. That'll work though. And down they go. So you get Ordovis's Great Sword and the Crucible Axe set. And that's going to do it for this video. That is Altus Plateau. We are done. So thank you for watching. Hopefully that helped. I really just went into a duo Crucible fight. Duo Crucible... Dude, I cannot talk today. A duo Crucible Knight fight with over 200,000 runes. That's kind of wild. I didn't even notice that. So I'm gonna go ball out a round table hold. You guys have fun with your runes from this episode, and I will see you in the next one.